hello everyone, my name is Zachary O'Shea and this is Box of Teeth. It is the very last day of January, and I have one last ghost story to share with all of you, along with the Dungeon and Dragon monster that accompanies it, and kind of sets up the whole month worth of ghosts that we've talked about. So go ahead and stay tuned. With all the ghost stories this month, I've tried to keep the perspective of a non-player character who's explaining these ghosts to a player character in the same way that I'm basically explaining them to you in a story sort of fashion that's nice and short and wets the whistle. And that someone has been Foster Carvilius Graeme. Let's talk a little bit more about Carvilius and hear about him in his own words now. I know what you're thinking. Why is a ghost wandering about hunting other malevolent spirits? We restless folk ain't like a race, guild, creed, or nothing. Not all of us are evil neither. See, among my people, when I was alive, there were these folks called Fossers. They were somewhere between gravedigger and priest. It was our duty to prepare bones for burial, make sure the right rites were done. That way, the dead didn't rise up to menace the living. I was in charge of one of our catacombs. Hell, I don't even remember what ruin it was buried under now. It doesn't matter none. Let's just say I screwed up, and I screwed up bad. Hungry dead came storming out of those catacombs and devoured the grand city above it. I managed to stop it with the help of some friends. It weren't easy. However, the folks that survived didn't care neither. They bound me still living in an iron box, carved curses all over it, and then they moved on to faraway lands. I can't say that I blame them after what happened. Save, I didn't come back full of darkness and hate like most spirits do. I got a duty that I failed once, and I don't intend to fail it again. Save, of course, ghosts ain't no good at fighting one another. So what do you say? Want to put down some ghosts for the glory, or some wraiths for the wealth? 'Cause hear me out. I don't know just where the bodies are buried. I know where their treasure is, too. Alright, let's go ahead and take a look at Foster Carvilius Graeme for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. The reason I static Carvilius out is because we know how players are sometimes. Yes, he's a ghost. They might want to fight him at some point, or maybe you as a dungeon master want to say, okay, there's a twist. He's actually evil, or he's got some other alternative motive, or maybe the players are tricked into fighting him in the end or at some point. You never really know, so it's always a good idea to stat them out and kind of make them cool in people's minds. So let's go ahead and get started. He is a challenge rating 10 lawful good ghost who has a plethora of skills. On top of that, he does have damage resistances, damage immunities, and condition immunities that you would expect for a ghost to have. Like any other ghost, he does have ethereal sight, incorporeal movement, and etherealness. On top of that, he does have an ability called Grave Marker, so he knows the exact location of an undead creature within 60 feet, whether they're in the material or ethereal plane, and as long as they're not protected from divination magic. On top of that, he can extend this out to 100 miles once per day if he's ever heard a story or tale of the particular ghost that he is looking for, or undead creature in general. He also has Tireless Servant, so if he is reduced to 0 hit points, he just returns to his crypt and comes fresh out of it 1 year later with full hit points, unless that crypt has been turned into a profane site thanks to the Hollow spell. I think it's weird that Hollow does both profane and hollowed now, but I guess it's just for kind of slimming down stuff. Speaking of that spell, he does have it and a lot of other innate spells that he can cast that are all kind of cleric spells you would expect someone to have if they are dealing with other ghosts and the like. But it does include Geas, Hollow, Remove Curse, and Greater Restoration, and a couple lesser spells. As an interesting side note, if he does cast Hollow on a site, it does destroy him for doing so, and he has to respawn 1 year later. So he's pretty hesitant to do that unless absolutely necessary. Attack-wise, he does have 2 attacks where he has a spectral spade that he uses, which is the tool of office, because basically he's a cleric gravedigger, and that does necrotic damage, as one might expect. I hope that you enjoyed Foster Carvilius Graeme. He is someone that I've always enjoyed getting into the head of and writing in several ghosts, not just ones I've covered this month, but there are dozens of them over at boxofteeth.blogspot.com, along with hundreds of other horror-themed monsters for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, and they're all perfectly free, so I'd appreciate if you gave them a look, and I would love to know how you would use him or other ghosts that I have covered in your campaign. On top of that, of course, if you are interested in the non-Dungeons & Dragons projects that I have or the horror fiction that I write, that includes Grease Paint right there and right there that does have a killer clown. It does have some ghosts in it. You can always go to www.zacharyoshay.com. As always, I really do appreciate your time and your attention. It was a really great January with all of you, and have a wonderful, wonderful February ahead of you.